No, no, because I'm the one that usually...
I'm trying to be invisible.
You're never invisible.
Because I don't need, like, this.
Is there any way that we could have gotten this up here, or no? What? Yeah, no, Jessica thought you had the students at the come for Canada. We're starting now. The audience of did you recognize that?
I said something.
Yeah, who said no?
Because he's been sitting around apparently. Was he
She
sitting
said
on
no,
the
but
ground
just
inside?
Zena was just asking the
Like he was
question.
going to go and sit down and
No,
watch
no,
the
no,
show.
no, no, no.
I said,
Nadia said no?
Go get some water.
Okay, she's gonna play? Oh, they're gonna play? Okay, bring Kino. Quick. Okay, bye. Come now, come inside. Yes, bye. Okay, he's almost here. Aren't you the MC? So do the MC in.
There he is. Are you going to introduce him to say? You're putting me out. No, you're the co-chairs. You welcome, greet everyone.
Zena is the one that's going to do it.
Good
Zena,
morning. You're going to
Kino,
welcome
come.
everyone. Then you're going to introduce kindly to the land
Kino.
acknowledgements, and then we'll begin.
Go
Wait,
in the
aren't you
front.
going to speak? The two of you? Are you going to greet?
She's going to start first and then
Well, okay. Would you like me to begin? Are we nervous right now? You're good. So
No,
you
wait a
greet.
minute.
You both greet.
Before we do O Canada?
No.
Before the land acknowledgement?
We're just doing the land acknowledgement, but you have to say good morning, welcome everyone, thank you for
stand.
being here. Please stand for the reading of the land acknowledgement.
So wait,
and then kind of
so
read the land
wait.
acknowledgement.
No, he's coming.
Wait, sure.
No, Samuels. Oh, sorry, Samuels. Yeah. So, ready? Let's go.
Good morning, everyone. If we could get everyone to get to their seats, please. Thank you. We'd like to remind everybody as well that drinks and food is not to be consumed in this building, or at least in this auditorium. As well, to let everybody know that this event will be, the streaming will take place at this event on this stage. So if you are in the audience, you will not be as part of that streaming footage, just to let you know. So then it's all streaming is going to be taking place on the stage. Thank you. I'd like to also introduce, actually, before I do that, I'd like everyone to stand, if comfortable, for the land acknowledgement, and that is going to be done by Kainu
Samuels. No.
Sandals.
Go to. Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
I'll speak to them.
Did I just go?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, okay. We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Thanks.
See how we just projected the mic? You need to project that way so the sign language interpreter can hear you.
Okay.
All right, you got to be in the microphone.
One more housekeeping item, please, for everyone in the audience. If we could ask you to put your phones to silent, please, and that way we can all enjoy this event without any conversations. If so, of course, you can always go out into the hallway to have your conversation. Thank you.
Sorry, I'd like to repeat again, because we do have an interpreter, sign language interpreter. We're asking that if you have your phone on, can you please put it on silence so that that we can begin. And with the live streaming, we don't want to hear the phone ringing, if possible, please. Thank you. Oh, just heard one.
Again, good morning. My name is Zena Sherrick, and beside me is Sharon Grant, and we are the PIAC co-chairs. We would like to welcome our trustees, our associate director, TDSB senior staff, PIAC reps, student volunteers, and you, the parents and caregivers of the Toronto District School Board, for being here today on this cold February morning, but at least we have sun. Last year, we returned in person after a 3-year pivot to a virtual setting, to an in-person setting. And we could not be happier that we're all back in person again this year. We would like everyone to look to their left, to look to their right. And what you will see is what we see when we stand here, and that is a large group of parents and caregivers that are making a difference in their school communities to support the achievement and well-being of the students of the Toronto District School Board. Being here today is a step on your journey to allow you to continue your journey in your child's school, whether you are a school council co-chair, a treasurer, a secretary, the lead of a subcommittee, considering joining a school council, or a parent or caregiver that is sitting with your student every day and asking them about their day and helping them with their homework. You are making a difference every day. Please give yourself a round of applause. Today you will have the opportunity to listen, to learn, and engage in all things school council. Make sure to ask questions, share your knowledge, network with others around you, and after today, use your voice and make the change happen. Welcome again, and enjoy the conference today.
What is PIAC? PIAC is a provincially mandated statutory advisory committee at the TDSB. Voice of parents at the TDSB support more effectively when you're engaged. Provide information and advice to the board, enhance accountability of the education system. Other parent input on the board policies and procedures, support school council, and we're all volunteers. So we are parents like you that came forward to help ensure that our education, our rights as parents are adhered to, and we have a voice at the board. So although you see us here, we are just like you, but we just put some work in the background in order to help ensure that your voice is heard at the board level. Thank you. I would like to call upon Michelle Monroe. Michelle, are you in? Okay. So I'd like to also explain that as part of what happened is the Toronto District School Board for 25 years, even prior to the regulation, had always encouraged parent voice at the table. And this is why we're called PIAC. Other boards call it PIC, but our board is PIAC, Parent Involvement Advisory Committee. And one of the things we were instrumental in ensuring that happened for us is that we have an engagement office, parent engagement office within the board, their board staff that help support us. You've probably heard of Michelle Monroe. She's manages and supervises that department. And it's called PCCEO now, Parent Caregiver Community Engagement Office. Here's Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh my, good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, so much better. Thank you so much. I am so honored, thrilled, and privileged to see so many of you here this morning. Let me first begin by asking everyone in the room, can you put your right hand up? Up, 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 up. Can you extend it back? And just pat yourselves on the back, and this is my way of saying thank you so much for being here. You could be anywhere this morning. Parents, caregivers, guardians, there's so many things that we could be doing on a Saturday morning. The fact that you found your way here, we say thank you. The fact that you do Monday to Friday every day, doing what you do, getting them up, getting them to us, we say thank you. And we know how valuable your Saturdays are. So my job this morning is essentially to just introduce and welcome the parents and caregivers who are addressing you for today. What you see happening here today and I have to say it as a staff of the board, is organized, facilitated, and delivered by parents and caregivers like yourselves. So from catering to registration to your presentations, it's all parents who have made their time available to volunteer on the Parent Involvement Advisory Committee. So can I just have every PIAC member that's in the space or volunteer, could you please stand? Let us honor and acknowledge you at this time. They rarely ever get that, so thank you, because they're usually behind the scenes, running around, doing a million things. So for the remainder of this morning, we're going to be in this room talking all things school council, which is one of, okay, maybe my third favorite topic to talk about as it relates to parent-caregiver engagement. And the committee wanted to provide the opportunity for parents, caregivers, but also our school council chairs and our school council members to really deep dive into school councils today. So most of the topics this morning will be addressing the areas of school council, and you'll be hearing from a series of speakers on that topic. But if anyone has done any workshops, attended a school council town hall, I'm a big believer in setting the context. And the context for me is, how are we as parents, caregivers, school council chairs, co-chairs, vice chairs, members, how are we thinking about the role that we play within our local schools or on our central advisory committees? How are we contextualize what we do in relation to the world that we are living? Because I truly believe that we are in an extraordinary time in human history. And there are so many things happening around our globe. But because of the nature of who we are as a district, whatever happens internationally finds themselves right within our classrooms, right within our neighborhoods, and right within our school council meetings and our school council events. And so I challenge each and every one of us. How are we thinking globally while acting locally? Because there isn't an issue right now that's affecting the world that's not affecting what you do at your school councils. So that may sound strange, but keep in mind that the parents and the caregivers and the guardians that you support, that you serve, that you facilitate, represent every region of the world in this magnificent school board that we call TDSB. And so that requires us to really reflect and think about the way in which we lead the work. But most importantly, I want to encourage each and every one of you as our parents and volunteers and council chairs to not just think of yourself. The other day I heard parents say, I'm just a parent, or I'm just a school council chair, or I'm just a, there's no such thing, right? The moment you put your name down and you step up, you automatically put yourself in the role of a leader. You are now leading council. You're now leading a volunteer role. And we really want you to begin to see yourselves that way, because that's the way in which we're going to be able to tackle some of the complex things that we're seeing at our local school level. So I encourage each and every one of you, as you leave here and you leave the session and the acknowledgement later on this afternoon, that you think of yourself now as not just a school council member, not just a parent volunteering, not just a chair, co-chair, but as an essential, vital leader within the Toronto District School Board, doing essential work at our school level that we know as a district we cannot possibly do without you. So thank you for that. So now, I'll do what they actually put me here to do. Now I'll do my job, was really to introduce people, right? All right, so I'll do that now. So to begin our talk this morning, we're going to be having our first presenter, which will be speaking about the vision and the values of school council. And let me begin by introducing our presenters. Could you make your way up to the stage right now? Can I have Sarah and Melanie? Could you please make your way up to the stage? And I'll introduce Sarah and Melanie. Not only are they ward reps, but they are also the co-chair of the PIAC School Council working groups. And so if you are not involved in a working group of PIAC, you will see the work that they're all doing today. So I'll now turn it over to Sarah and Melanie. Enjoy.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'm the Ward 9 rep, and
I'm Ward 2 rep.
So we'll be in the marketplace later. Come say hi, come see us. All right.
I think we should ask a
Yes,
question, maybe.
yeah, go ahead.
So just a quick question. How many schools have school council that are here? Show your hand up. How many dozen? No school council? That's good.
All right. We're going to talk about the purpose and mandate of school councils. School councils are governed by the Ontario Education Act. Their defined priorities are student achievement and making sure that the education system is accountable to parents. School councils need to follow TDSB policies and procedures regarding equity, parent and caregiver engagement, community involvement, and fundraising. You'll hear about some of that later. The role of the principal. Principals are the leaders of the school community. It is their responsibility to assist school councils. They are required to support councils by ensuring there is an elected school council and that elections are held in accordance with the ministry regulations, attend school councils meetings, and carefully consider and report back on any recommendations put forward by the council.
So, this is another question. I'm the question person. How many of school councils or parents do you feel supported by the principal? Put your hands up. How many do not? See us later, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, come see us later. Next slide. Okay. School councils play a vital role in ensuring that the voices of parents and caregivers are heard and that their needs are adequately addressed. By collaborating with educators and fulfilling the school council mandate, we can make recommendations to principals, school boards, and even the Ministry of Education, holding the education system accountable to our parent community. It's essential to represent our whole community, and that means seeking out diverse parent and caregiver voices and providing opportunities for everyone to contribute. Together, we can support family needs for student well-being and achievement.
Another question. Let me put it away. How many of you feel actually welcome in your school council or even feel heard? Put your hands up. How many do not? Thank you.
These are all come see us later questions. Okay. When it comes to decision making, there are two methods. Consensus, having open discussions and coming to an inclusive agreement. Then there's formal voting. A motion is brought forward and a vote is made based on the discussion.
Here, right?
Oh, here, this one.
So another question, how many of you follow these models in your school council? How many do not? And this is the first time you're seeing this. Good.
No, keep it there, yeah. When planning your meetings, it's important to make it worth attending for everyone involved. You should start by defining a clear purpose for the meeting and setting an agenda. This will help ensure that everyone is on the same page and understands what will be discussed. It's also a good idea to send out any relevant information in advance so that attendees can come prepared with questions or comments. During the meeting, make sure to allow all attendees to participate and share their thoughts. It's important to stay on time and on topic so that the meeting doesn't drag on unnecessarily. Additionally, you should assign and review action items so that everyone knows what they need to do after the meeting. Finally, it's important to follow up promptly with meeting minutes. This will help ensure that everyone remembers what was discussed and what action items were assigned. By following these tips, you can make your meetings a success. Engagement. Parent engagement refers to the positive relationships between parents and schools that support student learning and success. It involves activities that happen at home, such as reading with children, helping with homework, and discussing school events. True parent engagement goes beyond the school's parent agenda and includes parents in the decision-making process that affect their child's education. By enhancing parents' ability to support their children's outcomes, parent engagement can have a positive impact on academic achievement, behavior, and overall well-being. Do you want to add to that? Anything to that, Sarah?
And the one thing we want to add is parent engagement does not start in school, it actually starts at home. So the engagement role starts at home. Keep that in mind, and then it continues on in the school system.
The key to successful school councils is collaboration. It's important to build respectful relationships with staff, other parents, and your school community. Working closely with your school's principal can also lead to successful outcomes. Building parent capacity to support their kids and inviting parent knowledge to school communities are other important steps. Finally, and I can't say this enough, outreach to your whole parent community. It can help ensure that everyone's voice is heard, not only just the parents who come to your meetings. Okay, well, now I'm gonna go off script here for a moment. Yes, all right. Being part of a school council can get exhausting. You put a lot of hard work and time. So let's, yes. I could tell you this though, from personal experience. I was on my kids' school council for several years. It is so rewarding. It feels amazing to know that you are making a difference for not only your kids, but all the kids at the school. Myself and a group of parents advocated for some change at our school, and we pushed and we pushed and we pushed, and we made it happen. And I am so proud and honored, and my kids are so proud. Like, they're like, oh, mom's up there. Like, they get really proud, and it like makes me feel so good. So yeah, like, it's exhausting. It's hard work, but you know, it makes a difference. It's worthwhile. Yeah. Sarah.
We just want to make sure that you understand, I know everybody's here on a Saturday. Kudos to you guys, and hands up clap for parents. It's not easy. On a sunny day.
Saturday.
On a Saturday and a sunny day.
Oh,
but,
sunny day.
yes, sunny day. But the other thing I want to mention is this is what a successful school council looks like. That may not be the reality for many of you guys. And this is why PIAC is here for you, and specifically when it comes to Melanie and myself as the co-lead for all the school council in all the wards. So just know that today is your day. We want to really hear from you. Ask us the real hard questions, not the sugarcoating questions. Because at the end of the day, your kids, you're here to advocate for your child, for your students, and for others. So don't forget that. Yeah.
We finished on time, woohoo! Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah, Melanie. All right, we're gonna move now to structure of a school council, and that will be Sharon Janis and Superintendent Helen Fisher. Could you please just make your way up? And while they're making their way up, please note that PIAC has 3 tables in the main hallway right in front of the cafeteria. So what questions you may not get answered in this space today, please make sure you visit their booth to get the information before you leave.
Hello, I'm going to go off script a little bit because it said what both Melanie and Sarah had mentioned, it holds true. And I'd like to showcase a successful school council engagement from the school executive, the school council itself, principal, and superintendent. And I'd like to call up 3, a principal, because we have our superintendent as well, and they're going to also be supporting us, our PIAC, for the questions that parents may have. I'd like to call up Maria Palermo, she's principal at Emory. And I'd like to call And I would, where she is, she's in here, and Principal Rosalie Griffith from Westview, and Principal Matt Johnson, I'm hoping he's here. He was helping out with the busing. He's the elementary principal at Fleming. And Superintendent Helen Fisher is also part of the group. I am a co-chair, I'm the co-chair of my school council. And I would like to also call Superintendent Monday Gala, is he here? Yes. And I'd like to call Nadia, she's part of school council. So I just want to let you know a little bit of history, is that we have such a strong relationship, so we're just giving an example of how they took their time off in order to come and help support. And this is when we're doing the event planning. We could say, without even asking, they will be voluntold and they'll listen, they will come here. No problem. Oh, you want us? Not a problem. So we could comfortably say within our working group that don't worry, they will make sure they're here. And they're like, really, Sharon? I'm like, yep. Really, Nadia? Yep. Don't even worry, they will be here. And so said, they got the message and they're here. And so I wanted to give a round of applause. So.
We also have Principal Angie Hickey-Gillespie from Fairgrove.
And Principal
Hickey-Gillespie from Fairgrove.
Principal Hickey-Gillespie from Fairgrove.
And we have brand new Vice Principal Avram from Derrydown.
Okay, so our Vice Principal. And the other part of it, and I don't want to show up anyone else, but I just wanted to talk about the different level, is my PIAC reps from Ward 4, Tamasha and Jessica. Can you come up? So we're talking from, I needed to show you the where it is. And then our trustee, Matthias, can you come up? So why I'm saying that, I'm not sure, can you, Tamasha and Jessica, I wanted to show you that this is how the collaboration works. And so from school council, we're able to say my trustee will come, our PIAC rep collaboration, principal, vice principal, superintendents. So this is, I wanted to let you know it works. And it's a lot of work that we put into it, but I just wanted to say, hey, what does it look like? And I wanted to show you what it looks like. So I want to give a round of applause. Okay? Thank you. All right then. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay? All right, so yeah. So, they will be here to be able to answer any questions for your principal. And so I just got off script a little bit because I had to explain, you're like, okay, what does it look like? I wanted to let you know what it looks like, okay? So, Janice, so structure of governance, okay. Members of a school council. So the number of elected parent members outlined in your bylaws. So you need to have a bylaws, and we're gonna go into that later. So you have to figure out amongst your school, how many elected parents you want to be within your school as part of your bylaws. And part of the school council must have your principal and or vice principal. The principal can designate the vice principal to be that active member within your school council. That is not a voting member, but again, you can't, the leadership of that school is your principal. We need to make sure that the principal is involved, because the principal starts the ball rolling in order for our school to have an effective school council. There's supposed to be a teacher representative on that school council, so whether the high school, elementary, a teacher representative, and a non-teaching staff. So it could be the custodian, an EA, our office staff, someone there that has that should be on your school council. A student representative where applicable. I know sometimes in elementary it's hard, but maybe a grade 8, if they, they want to become a rep, student rep, they have the voice. They can be, more the senior within the school, and for definitely high school. We need to encourage our school council. So we have the SAC, the Student Advisory Council. So maybe somebody from that SAC team could be the voice at the table on behalf of their school. I know we have it also at the school I'm at. Our principal encourage it a lot. So one home and school association representative, if you have one. So if someone is not part of your school community, I'm not talking the actual brick and mortar school community, you can ask someone within your neighbor, maybe somebody that runs a grocery store, anyone they can be the community voice at the table as well. That way you're plugged, the community is plugged in what you're doing, okay? You can have one or more members at large as defined by a council. So it doesn't have to be that cumbersome, but it's a starting point, and then you have a healthy school council. The roles of school council, member roles. So school council members are parents of parent, guardian, caregivers of a school at a school and are elected by the parent group. So what happens is the proper way to have your school council is everyone runs and the entire school community vote on those parents and say, okay, you know what, I don't mind you being my voice at the school because I'm very busy, I can't do it. So yes, so a parent can say, put their name forward, and then the entire school community vote on that parent to be part of the voice, the voting membership of school council. And then after that, within those voting members, then you elect your representative. So the exec, your co-chair, your chair, your treasurer, secretary, depending on what you have in your bylaw, and then and that's how you do your school council exec. Exactly the way we do in PIAC. So in PIAC, we get elected, and then within PIAC, then we vote on our co-chairs, okay? So it's a requirement to have one or two co-chairs. Other roles may be assigned. If you don't want to be part of the activity of being an exec or being a rep, you can also have your voice heard. So just remember, you are not, your voice is not lowered if you're not a part of school council. School council must be an open forum. You still can have your voice heard. And then what you do, you encourage your rep to vote on where your interest lies in terms of how to help support your school. So Janice, I'll put it over to Janice. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sharon. My name is Janice Barnett. I'm the ward co-rep for Ward 11 and a former co-chair for Northern Secondary School. So Sharon has walked you through how to create your school council, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the responsibilities of what a school council does and how they connect with the school community. So you've heard that you can probably figure out school council is a great way to meet people and to get busy and connect with the community, but there are a number of responsibilities that you have. One specifically, and I'm going to go into this a little deeper later, is to develop bylaws and operating procedures. There's also record keeping and reporting, which means keeping agendas, keeping minutes, reporting on financials, which would be your budget. You could do that monthly or whenever you have your meetings. There are also annual reports that you will have to file, which could be the school statement of needs, or the public sector accounting board report that is due every August. And Superintendent Fisher will drill deeper into those concepts after I finish. You're also going to be consulting with your community, with your parent community, with your principal on anything that is under consideration with your school council. It is also your responsibility to communicate constantly with the community and your parent and the school community. So that could be through a website that you've created or provided by the board. It could be through an email system, or it could be through your socials. So it's very, very important to have that open dialogue with your parent community. And also, you will be making recommendations to the principal and also to the school board that reflect the consensus of the parent community and the well-being of all the students. So I want to touch on a very important concept, which is bylaws. And each school council should have a set of bylaws through which you will operate your council. So what are bylaws? Bylaws are a document which serves as a guidebook for your school council internal affairs. So simply said, they're an operating manual for your school council. So they would cover things like procedures and guidelines like duties and roles of directors and officers. So why are bylaws important for small volunteer organizations? Well, they make everybody involved in the school council aware of the rules that the school council is going to play by. They are essential in keeping the school council helping it map out its purpose and the practical day-to-day details that you will be engaging in and how to go about this business. And they also create certainty and transparency and clear expectations around the way school council is governed. So as you can see, bylaws are a very, very important element in your school council toolkit. So bylaws may include your number of members, the quorum required for votes, the roles and responsibilities of members and committees, your decision-making process, communication strategy, social media strategy, or perhaps the process for amending the bylaws. But as per the Ontario Education Act, Regulation 612, bylaws must include a conflict resolution framework, conflict of interest, and also election procedures and how to fill vacancies. So you have the optional pieces and then you have the required pieces. So what happens if your school does not have a set of bylaws? Well, the PCCEO office has actually developed a template that can be used. It can be used as is, so basically it's fill in the form with the name of your school, the number of members, so you would customize it a little bit. Or this template can also be used to customize and update your existing school council bylaws if you are a school that has a set of bylaws. So it's important to understand that existing school bylaws may be outdated and breach certain sections of the board bylaws. So the board bylaws will always take precedent over any individual school council bylaws. So this template was developed so that all school councils in the TDSB are operating with the same set of guidelines. All school councils have the same framework to guide them through the most common processes and situations. And specifically, again, I will repeat this, they all have a process to work through conflict resolution, conflict of interest, and election procedures. So the template is available on the TDSB website under Community, How to Get Involved, School Councils, and then Bylaws. So if you come and visit us in the Marketplace hallway, we're happy to chat with you about bylaws and give you more information. Thank you very much.
Oh, you want to do questions now? Okay. Do we have any questions?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Helen Fisher, Superintendent of Learning Network 7. Proud to be serving 21 schools across the neighborhood. Nice to have my trustee, awesome Matthias here, who helps out in every situation. And a shout out to a couple of people from my neck of the woods, Principal Angie Hickey-Gillespie from Fir Grove, and newly promoted Vice Principal Mahela Avram from Dairy Dam. Bonjour, Madame. So I'm going to go off script and stand over here so I can look at my slides too. So I will say that I'm not only work for the board, but I'm also a proud mom of 2 TDSB graduates. Woo! And my husband was very much involved with school councils all throughout their lives. So he started off as a member, he became a chair, he was very, very involved and engaged in the process. So it's really nice to see so many of you out here today. I know how much work goes into it. Trust me, he used to come home pulling out his hair as they were organizing the fun fair every year. So I know how much work it is from that angle as well. So today I'm here to talk about so many school committees on top of getting engaged in the school council. And the schools are encouraged to include school council parent reps from some mandatory involvement. So one of the key things that we do in schools is we work on a school improvement plan every year. And we really want parents to become part of that planning from the ground up. So unpacking the data, what does the data say? How do we actually move achievement? How do we move well-being? What are we doing within our Indigenous education goal, and how are we supporting that? And those are some of the 3 key goals that we look at all steeped in equity and looking at what potentially are disproportionate outcomes for some students, and how do we as parents voice those concerns and get involved from the ground. The other thing that we always want parents to be, and it is mandatory, is to be part of the Caring and Safe Schools Committee. And that's a committee that looks at not only school-wide initiatives as far as well-being, but also about safety in and out of the building, in the community perhaps. And that's very, very important. We need your voices. The other piece that is coming soon, around March or April, is staffing. So every year, principals have to organize the schools. How many grade 1 classrooms? How many grade 2? How many grade 4s? And, you know, thus the voice of the parents is important so they can understand the structure and voice their opinions and suggestions, always from the ground up again. We get our numbers that come in and they give us sort of a projected enrollment, which says this is how many kids we believe you're going to have in September, and we invite parents in to see how the model is developed within each school. And the last committee, very importantly, is budget. And so each school gets a lump sum of money that they use on different things throughout the year, and we always encourage parents to get involved and be on the budget committee and advise principals on where they think some of the money should be spent. And so it's a good way so that you can also see what is money spent on in the school. Where does the money go? And it's a really great committee. Even if you can't be there all the time, please ask about it. Ask about the follow-up. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in and ask the principal. School council committees, obviously, as was discussed today, can be formed as per your bylaws. They make recommendations to the council, so anybody on this committee can make a recommendation to the council. Committees must have at least one elected parent member of the school council, but it's really, really important. I have heard this throughout the morning, and it's so wonderful to hear. Any parent or caregiver of the school can also participate, and we want them to participate because sometimes you're busy, you have a job, you can't get to the meeting, or you've got to drop off the kids at some program. We really want to make sure that we're finding ways to engage all the parent voices at the table. And all committee meetings essentially are open. So if I can come to 2 throughout the year, great. If I can come to 6, wonderful. It should be whenever you can make it. Obviously, if you're an elected official, you want to be there at least as much as you can. And they should be recording minutes. And that's always, honestly, every school council I ever led as a principal was always like, I don't want to be the secretary recording minutes. But there are better ways now with voice to text, and you know, some people like to write them out and then print them. We will support, because we know that that is a tedious job sometimes. Next slide, please. So as I said earlier, and it's up here, and I think these are linked, right? These links maybe will go out later about the school improvement process. There are 3 goals that all principals in every school need to develop with yourselves, with the staff, and we also include students on this process. We have to hear their voice as well. And the 3 goals that we look at are well-being, achievement, and Indigenous education and sovereignty. And the school committees, as I said, they're caring and safe, school improvement, staffing, and budget. Again, open to any member, and even if you can drop in for 1 meeting, 2, 3, and if you can't drop in a meeting, please go have a coffee with the principal or a tea and ask about it, and they are more than happy to explain the process to you. The school statement of needs is basically every year the school counselor is asked to write a little bit of it's a template that you can go into and write what are some of the characteristics of the community and what are some of the needs that make the school community unique, so that it's used by me or other superintendents that when it comes time to transfer and promotion, and what that means is some principals might be moving to another school, some might be retiring, some might be getting promoted to another role, and then our role as superintendents is to work with yourselves as school council members with that school statement of needs and find the perfect fit for the next principal to come in and establish their leadership in the building. So it is, I know that on the website now there are some samples of school statement of needs, and again, another piece is if you're not quite sure, what do I put on the school statement of needs? reach out to the principal, though they're not part of the process per se. It's just the school council that should be writing this document. But if you really are not quite sure what it should look like, they have exemplars, they can give them to you, they can support you on what that might look like. The other great resource are your PIAC reps. They're amazing. You can give them a call and say, we're not quite sure what to put on the school statement of needs. They'll come over and they'll support you in that. A little bit more. Sorry, did I see something? Somebody calling me, Ms. Fisher? Thanks for the question. I'm not sure I'm prepared for that one. But, you know, as earlier, what I did see up there is one of the roles of school councils is also even sometimes to write to the Ministry of Education. Now, the Science Center isn't directly related to the Ministry of Education, but my understanding is that's school council voices that they can write and advocate, petitions, whatever it may be from a certain community. Always a good idea to be supporting, to write to the government if that's something that they want to change. I have another question or comment. I heard Helen down here. Trustee, I have two trustees in the audience. Maybe my trustee, this awesome trustee from Ward 4, DeVitas, would like to speak on that question.
So the question for those folks that are online, as I heard it, what can PIAC do to help prevent the demolition or the closure of the Science Center, right? The province stands above the school board. We understand this because we struggle as school boards throughout Ontario to deal with some of that dynamic. You as parents together at PIAC have power, and there's an explanation of the process, how some of that is put in place. But you, as parents, as community members, have power collectively. If PIAC decides to have a conversation about this issue, decides to bring this to the school board, then us, as your representatives, can do our best to take that forward and to push the province on that. And I would be happy to do that on a personal basis. I think all our museums, all our science resources, all those resources for children throughout the city need to be protected, invested in, and made better. So it's a great question. It's the type of question that I think we need more of to create a better educational system for our kids, because it's the libraries, it's the museums, it's the parks, it's the public pools, and the schools that create great childhoods for our children, right? So I'm gonna pass it back to the PIAC reps here, and they can speak about how that type of advocacy can be moved forward. But us as your trustees, we're here to listen, we're here to advocate as well, and we're happy to listen to you on the issues that you think are important. And thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee DeVitas. And I just want to wrap up before I go. We want to just make sure that people understand that being part of the school improvement process is required by TDSB and part of the regulations 612. So it identifies the other piece of when we look at the school improvement plan, we're looking specifically at students that might not be achieving and why that is, and why we want to make sure that we're putting interventions in place to ensure that they achieve. Additionally, we're also looking at students who are achieving really well and how to further engage them so they can excel in their studies as well. So I'm going to pass it back on to the PIAC reps.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Fisher. One thing I wanted to say for the school statement of needs is very important. I need to add as a parent perspective. So you don't have to be an elected rep within your school to have your voice at at the table when we're putting to the school statement of need. Every parent within the school have the right to have a voice at the table. So that could be a ad hoc working group. You know, they could invite and say, hey, parents, we're gonna get together, and you can sit and you work through that. If that's the only thing that you'd like to do as a contribution, not a problem. So don't think that it's only the school council puts it together. It's the entire school within the school community, because at the end of the day, it's about your children. It's about your child. We're all here because of our child. The only thing we have in common is those students. If they're not there, we're nothing, okay? They are the reason why we do this. So we are there for them, and you need to be there at the table speaking on behalf of them so that they have the best experience possible, like we did. Or if we didn't, we would like to see them have. So when they graduate, right, they say, yes, I had a good experience going through. And how did it happen? My parents within the school started the trend. So remember, it's about the children, not about us. Please, I'm asking you. Remember, it's about the children, not about us. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm going to refer for you to speak to the trustee. However, let me explain how, this particular conference is about helping a parent go through the process in order to get their voice heard. So for the situation with the Ontario Science Center, please reach out to whatever ward you're associated with. Please reach out to your ward rep. Your ward rep will end up inviting you to our working group. You can be part of our working group consultation working group, because that's not a governance working group within PIAC. So any parent can join. School council is not a governance working group. Any parent can join. You just have to, and then this is where we would work out what is it that PIAC gonna say. And then we can work on, if this is something that as the general committee of PIAC say, you know what, that's something that we want to take on, then we will take it on as a collective. Okay, so this is how we work. So you speak to your local PIAC rep invite you onto the working group consultation, and from there we will work it that we go to the general meeting, and then we vote on that. This is where it is. If not, you can work with it within your school system as well, within the school board. So thank you. Okay, sorry.
We're watching the time, and I'm seeing Trustee Williams itching slowly out of her seat. No? No? Okay, all right. So we're going to introduce our next speaker, and then we're going to do a wrap-up and bring you to the remainder of the afternoon. We're going to try to create a space for question after the last speaker, and we're going to ask that the microphone be used because we are streaming live, so if you're speaking from the audience, you're not going to be heard through our streaming. So we'll take a couple of questions after our last presentation, all right? The last presentation is on School Council Finance. That'll be presented by Andrew Waters, who is the liaison to the Parent Involvement Advisory Committee. Would you welcome him?
Thank you, Michelle. Can everyone hear me? Great. Actually, can you go back to the other slide first? Thanks. Again, yeah, my name is Andrew Waters. Again, I can't actually pronounce what I am. That thing. I'm actually dyslexic, so it's hard enough to pronounce English, let alone Latin. And so, but basically, I had the good fortune of both being able to be on a school council for a number of years, and then discovering PIAC. And I also had the great fortune for the last 2 years to be the co-chair of PIAC. My term ended in November. And so what this means is I get to stick around for a year and people entertain me with my ideas. Is the way it works. I think it's important for people that, when we're having conversations, to understand each other. I hope to meet as many of you as possible during the lunch and during the other activities that are happening this afternoon. Just as a brief introduction of myself, sorry, 1 second. So yeah, just a brief introduction of myself. I graduated from the old City of Toronto board back in the day. Have very fond memories of it. I'm actually fortunate that my children are attending the school where I went to school, and so that's a bit of a, I don't know, a brain twist. The other thing too is, from my perspective, I work in the public sector. I do not work for the Toronto District School Board, but I do have a strong commitment to public service and to education. I think it's very important. I think that education is one of the pillars that allows for our society to exist. I also, and the reason why I chose the session, or was given the session, accountability in finance, is I'm actually an accountant. So I actually like this stuff. So, we can go to the next slide. So there's a couple of pieces on here. So all school councils are given funds by the ministry. So you can see here there's two components. One is based on just basically the number of students that are in the school, and then a second component of $500 is given to encourage parent engagement, or parent caregiver engagement. These funds sit in what are called non-board accounts that are controlled by the principal in the school. It is very important as a school council that you are in constant contact with the principal, and that should be part of your monthly reporting, is to understand how much monies are in those accounts and how they're being spent, and they should be spent based at the direction of school council. One further thing is the Toronto District School Board, and this is actually, PIAC works strongly on this, is to try to find funding that does come from the ministry to support an innovation grant, again, to try to support school councils who are looking to make improvements. Particularly the last couple of years have been focused around anti-Black oppression, Indigenous awareness, and those kind of pieces. And so these are funds that school councils can also tap into from the Toronto District School Board. It's already done for this year. The funds have already been given out, but I'll keep an eye on that for next year. It usually comes out in October, and it's due in November. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. So next is fundraising. So with fundraising, again, it is optional. Okay, so that will be a decision of school councils whether they choose to be involved in fundraising. From my perspective, the most important resource the school has is not its fundraising, but its parents' time. It's parent and caregiver time, okay? There is so much things that school councils can do, especially around accountability, and I'll speak to that in a future slide. But again, for councils that do choose to fundraise, you need to make sure that you're fundraising according to the Toronto District School Board's guidelines and those kind of pieces. But I will say also, and this coming to the future, it is the decision of school councils to decide if they want to fundraise. And if they choose to fundraise, it should be the expectation of the council that the principal and any Toronto District School staff person support that endeavor, okay? It is allowed under the rules, and if a council chooses to just do it, and that's a decision of that community, it should not be in the Toronto District School Board staff to prevent that from occurring. Okay, I want to make that clear. Okay. So I will answer that question after I finish my presentation piece. Okay. Okay, so we can move to the next slide. One other thing is about role of the treasurer. Okay, school councils don't have to have a treasurer. Okay. I don't know why anyone would not want to be a treasurer, but again, I'm an accountant, so, okay. But, yes, yes. But at the end of the day, the role of the treasurer is to support the council and the co-chairs to execute on what the council is trying to do and make sure there's financial responsibility, okay? I will just say that it is not as hard as people think it is, okay? There's a lot of support out there. There's finance officers with the TDSB District School Boards, the principals, and those kind of pieces, okay? Of all, like, the different roles on school council, co-chair, treasurer, secretary, those kind of pieces, I actually think treasurer is the easiest, okay? Whereas, because the other ones, it's more having to sort of keep things all kind of going in those cases, whereas the treasurer, you're basically just trying to continue to report and make sure that people are well informed and then help to support that decision-making process, okay? One other thing I want to say, though, is all the officers or the executives, in our school, we actually call it the coordinating committee. We're trying to get a word away from the word executive, okay? Officers, like co-chairs, treasurers, and those things, they're meant to execute on the vision of the council. They are not decision makers per se. The decision maker is the council, okay? And that's a lot of times I've seen, especially when I first got to when I got to the school where my children were at, is it seemed to be there was this, it was the executive that made all the decisions, and that's not actually how it's supposed to work, okay? The decision is made by the council. The executive is the one that fulfills what the vision is of the council, okay? And that's a very important piece. And I think that's a good point to move on to, to accountability. And I think this is the most important thing to talk about, okay? School councils, according to Regulation 612, are literally meant to be an accountability mechanism within the school system, okay? It literally, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's something along the facts. It says hold this system accountable to improve pupil achievement, okay? And that is done by providing recommendations to both the school, the principal, and the board, okay? So that's really where a lot of impact can be made, and that's what's so important. And accountability is a two-way street, okay? The Toronto District School Board has a lot of training for councils, and it talks about transparency, accountability, inclusion, okay? But that is not just for school councils. That is also for TDSB staff. And it's important that you as council members understand that you need to advocate for your school council, for the parents that are there, and to have a partnership with Toronto District School Board staff, okay? And to start off, the partnership is not fair, okay? Principals are the leaders of the school, and it should be that way, okay? They are in charge of our children's well-being and education and everything that occurs in the school, okay? And that's how it should be. But they should also be listening to the community, okay? And that does not always occur in every school, from what I've heard over the last couple of years as a PIAC member and when I first got to my school, when my children got to the school, okay? There are great principals out there doing great work. There are great TDSB staff out there doing great work, okay? I myself, as a public sector worker, I am made better when the public hold me accountable and hold the organization for which I work for accountable, okay? That's how change gets made, okay? So if you have an idea, you want to bring something forward, you talk to your parents, you talk to the groups and those kind of pieces, you talk to the principal, talk to everyone, okay? But again, if you're getting no, I would not take the first no as the answer, okay? You need to be advocating. There are a lot of improvements that need to be made to our education system, not just the Toronto District School Board, it's across this, our province, across, quite frankly, the country and the world. And again, all the work we do here and the fact that you've shown up on a Saturday morning to do this, okay, is demonstrating that you have that commitment, and we can make a change. And I think previous people spoke about the fact that they did, it can be frustrating, it can be exhausting at times, but differences do get made, and it makes it better for your children, and it makes it better for all the children in your schools, as well as the Toronto District School Board, okay? So accountability is a two-way street. Both you as council members need to be accountable to your parents and caregivers in your community, and you need to be accountable to the principal and to the school system, but at the same time, the system and the principals and all the staff need to be accountable to you as well. And that's what I want to end on. Thank you.
Okay, so now the floor is yours. So what we're going to ask, Len, just talk to our tech person. It would be really amazing if you're able to bring a microphone, just another microphone down for us to the floor. Thank you. We want to be sure that the question comes through clearly, but what I will do in the interim is I will take the question, I will repeat it, and then I'll direct it to the person who will be answering that question.
Before that, can we
So this is what the co-chair of PIAC does. She's constantly instructing me. All right. Constantly instructing me. All right. On that note, but she is correct. Could you stand on your feet for a few minutes just to give you a stretch? You've been sitting a while. If you can and if you're able, please stand. Get your hands up. Can I get them up in the air? In the Caribbean song, we say wave them in the air and just wave it like you don't care. Shake it out. Just get really, really stretch it all out. You've been sitting a while, so thank you so much for that. All right. Now the floor is yours. We've spoken at you for a while. Now we want to have a conversation. So I'm going to ask the order of which, if you have a question, I just want your hand up in the air. I will acknowledge you, and then I will repeat the question. And we're going to really try to keep our questions strictly focused on school council related, parent-caregiver engagement type of conversations to ensure that we're able to respond. Oh, you can't be the first question. No, you can't. So we have a parent standing in the walkway waiting to ask a question. All right, go ahead. First question is, do you have to have written documentation when forming one of the school committees? See, I don't want to be the one to answer that question, right? So I want my parents to be involved in answering this question. Who wants to take that? Janice will take that.
Actually, I would say that that would be covered in the minutes of that meeting. So it will be documented in a written form, and you would be forming a committee for school council in an actual meeting. So the minutes will be your documentation.
You want to do that?
So the school statement of needs is for the leadership of that school. So the leader of that school is a principal, not the vice principal. So what they do is they will take consideration on what the leadership is going to do. Vice principal, this is teacher to vice principal. There's a different process. But at the end of the day, the vice principal is not the final voice in that school. So you really want to have a principal that is engaged and a principal that is supportive of your school. And that is the manager, the boss. So we're looking at the principal first, and from there, the principal will work with the superintendent to find someone that can work with that principal and follow, you know, what they need to do within the school. But vice principal, at the end of the day, has to go back to the boss. Sorry, I shouldn't say the boss, but you know what I mean. The leader. Ultimately, the principal is responsible for that school, regardless of what you see. Okay, so we want as parents, we want the person that's accountable to us initially, which is a principal. We want that strong leader in that school. So our wish list, this is what we need for the person to come and help lead and guide our school. Then from there now, they know what the wish list is, so they will try with the superintendent find someone to accommodate to their second in command, let's say, to be able to follow through suit within that. So maybe there's some questions that I may not be able to answer because it's a staff, a senior staff, would be able to can answer it better for us, because one thing we must remember, we do not tell our principal what to do. We advise, okay? We advise a principal, and that is what our advocacy, and then there is a protocol. So I would like to re-invite Principal Palermo, Principal Griffith, and Principal Johnson. We had specifically asked them to come up. Principal Johnson is an elementary voice lens principal, and Principal Griffith and Palermo are both the high school. So we can kind of, there are certain things that are high school, reality, and elementary. Because when you get to, if you're not in high school yet, I'm telling you, it's a different world. It's a different world. I'm a coach, volunteer coach, everything. And then when you get to, I don't want you in my school. I'm like, no. Say, you know, no, mom, I don't want you there, you know. So it's a different word. So I want a reality. So please, where are they? Are they still here? Can you please come up if you don't mind so that you can help support? Thank you. Sorry.
All right, so now we do have a microphone. Why don't you come to the microphone so now everyone can hear you and I don't have to repeat you. All right, your third piece. Finance, someone want to take that? Andrew?
So hopefully, again, you can create bylaws that allow for that kind of flexibility, but at the end of the day, it's the co-chair that you can pretty much have a council with just one role, which is the chair, okay? And if there's not other people there, then everything falls to the chair, is the way it works. So from an accountability perspective, hopefully, again, you know, I myself at the school my children attend, you know, COVID was, you know, very difficult for school councils. A lot of people sort of pulled back, and you know, and that's to be expected in those kind of pieces. So you have to hold multiple hats, okay? But again, it's, you know, at the end of the day, the chair is expected to be understanding what's going on with the Treasury or what's going on with secretary minutes and stuff like that. At the end of the day, they're putting their name on it because they are the leader of that organization. So it's not a conflict.
We're good. Okay, love it. So just, I wanted to clarify, if you are one person a council does not make, right? Talk to me. One person a council does not make. But what an outstanding individual will do is be a wonderful voice for connecting with the parents and connecting with the principal to begin to create a space and a culture within the school that can begin to create a school council. All right? Sounds good? All right, perfect. Next question. Give me a second. See, that's a school board question. Hang on. And if my colleagues from business services were here today, they would say, absolutely, you're absolutely right. We agree with you. And the way in which the transition took place, so we have been with PACE, as you know, the Toronto District School Board had banked and encouraged councils bank with PACE for a number of years. When the transition took place, our district didn't get sufficient time to do appropriate RFP to explore an alternate option for our district. So what we're doing is, this is an interim transition until our board will be able to get the opportunity to be able to explore further. So what the staff have done in that department, they've been trying to provide school councils with options, right? So if you are presently banking with Alterna and you're finding the rates outstanding, that you don't have to stay with Alterna as a school council. You're not required to stay there. That's the first thing. You can look elsewhere banking because we have no policies that prevent you from doing that, or you can look internal. We councils have the opportunity to have accounts within the school. That there's a myth that's out there around, if the school council has funds that are held within the school, that the school controls that money, that the school manages. I want to bust that myth. You will handle and be able to get the reports that you need about funds that are in the school's account in the exact way you'd be doing it if they were in a bank account, with the exception that you won't get the fees or all of the additional pieces that go along with that. So our staff are fully aware that this is challenging. They've been trying to get the word out in terms of what the options are for you, and also are looking for ways to figure out how to help you manage those costs. Okay? Begin with my office, and then I'll direct you accordingly. Okay? Thank you so much.
May I speak?
Absolutely. Yes, we can.
So ultimately, again, it's about relationships. You're trying to work with your principal, to do that. I have experience in the past where, principals are not initially on board with pieces and stuff like that, but that should be a conversation that's occurring. I'd like to stress that one of the key things councils can do is make a written recommendation that's approved at a council meeting about what you want to do, and then have the principal respond to that. And you can ask to have the response in writing, and that will, elevate that conversation, okay? At the end of the day, the principal has, is in charge of the school, okay? And what happens at the school only happens if the principal wants it to happen. Now, hopefully principals will engage with their community, and if there's, very active interest around a certain fundraising piece or those kind of pieces, have those conversations to understand that, work with them. I've had several principals while my children are at school, and currently the principal I have is amazing and is engaged, actively communicating, reaching out, doing everything that's necessary to be that leader to do that work. Okay, and for there to be a conflict between the principal and the council, there's been a breakdown in communication there that's occurred, and really, both sides need to come together to resolve that. Okay, I know that doesn't completely answer your question, and maybe schools. Board staff may want to answer as well, but from my perspective, years as co-chair and as a treasurer, that's kind of sort of some, hopefully some guiding words, okay? Just one last piece to speak on the Alterna piece. Again, PIAC has been making lots of efforts to try to make recommendations to push board staff and the TDSB to change as soon as possible, okay? I think everybody here needs a little bit of background. PACE is a credit union, which is effectively a financial institution that went bankrupt like 3 or 4 years ago, okay? The TDSB stayed with that organization, okay, until such time as the assets got bought up by Alterna, okay? The money was never at risk, okay? We have a lot of good financial protections in Ontario, Canada, and everywhere, okay? But a lot of other organizations chose to leave PACE and do their RFQs and those kind of pieces to get a better deal with other financial institutions. For whatever reason, Toronto District School Board and its staff did not do that in those 3 years, okay? And now, as a result, especially for school councils, we are unfortunately paying those fees because we have no leverage, okay? I myself, at our school, we've left Alterna, okay? We looked into the market and found a financial institution that had no service fees. We convinced them we're a community organization. So take a look at that, okay? You can take a look at the board, non-board accounts, and those kind of pieces. I'm hoping that now the Toronto District School Board will, complete that. One last piece I'll say is the Toronto District School Board operating budget is larger than Prince Edward Island, okay? And for that, there needs to be the appropriate measures in place to handle all the money, including what's going on with the school councils, okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Andrew, and thank you for the question. All right, would you please go ahead?
Yeah, my name's Candace. I'm the co-chair of my council at our school. My question's around training to members of the council, particularly around getting permits, getting caregivers for our meetings, getting paid for the money that we've spent, and also issuing checks. So basically, the management of the council. So I haven't received any training, okay? I've looked up things, I've scoured, I've asked my principal deflects me, okay? I've emailed you, Michelle, and I've got my principal responding to me, saying that she has spoken to you, okay? So, and when my principal does get back to us with information, it really is kind of a list of stuff, and go find out, go read these 100 pages, these 200 pages. So I just sat through your presentation and everything. I know this. I've got this, okay? What I don't got is the daily operation of my council. And what I don't got is when I go into the office to talk to the staff that are there, and I have 10 minutes, 2 questions, okay? I have to talk to the receptionist for 10 minutes. Where do I get this paper? I'm not stupid. I can fill out stuff. Okay, now where do I put it? Where would you like me to put it? Okay? I can make this easy for you. I'm smart enough to do that. Okay? I just need this 10-minute conversation. And instead, what I got from the receptionist, supported by the principal, was a PDF document telling me the guidelines, and that she does not want me in the office. She does not want SAC information being dealt with in the office. Okay? I'm supposed to communicate with the reception through email or phone calls, because she is too busy, because she's not taking a lunch break or taking breaks. That's not on me. You know, I'm not her boss. And if I were her boss, she would be taking lunch and breaks.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for that.
so my question is, how do we get this training when we're not being helped out?
Thank
Where
you
do
so
we go
much.
and look?
All right, I'm going to take the first around training, and then my colleagues are going to take the second around relationships, in terms of relationships with the office staff, and school council and
I
parents.
will mention
Ooh,
that
there's
this is
more.
the first time I've ever stepped foot in that office this school term to ask a question of the receptionist, okay?
Okay.
And I have never had an argument in that office. I've never raised my voice. When I'm asked to leave, I leave,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for the questions. They're very good ones. So let me begin with the training. School council training is offered across the district every year, and we communicate that information out every year. We do the best we can. My office starts training throughout the school year in October. We run a series of training from October right through till the end of May, covering a variety of topics. 2 years ago, we started doing training just for school council leaders, meaning chairs, co-chairs, so we can help you navigate those everyday pieces. What do I do? What do I need to think about? How do I access this? Where do I go for that information? I will make sure that we put this information out to everyone who registered for the event. And if you've missed the actual training, now what we've started doing is recording the trainings. So if you missed the actual training, then you can do some independent by not reading a paper, but probably just rewatching the training and the video. So we do that annually every year. But we also consider our 2 large events as training. Right? We do a Parents, Caregivers as Partners conference in October, which we do cover councils, and then PIAC reserves this particular event just for this purpose, so schools councils will be able to come through and get the types of information they need. What we continue to work at is when the sessions are happening, how it's filtering from the central into our schools, from our schools, actually into hand of our chairs, co-chairs, members, and parents and caregivers. And that's ongoing work for us to keep working at as a district. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues to answer the second half of your question.
Thank you, Michelle. My role is principal at actually Sharon's school. So first of all, I'm sorry that that's been your experience. School councils are effective specifically because there should be strong collaboration between the principal as the leader of the school and the parents who are willing, caregivers who are willing to give their time. So I'm sorry that that's been your experience. I want to start there. Second, to let you know that there are mechanisms of support. So if you've tried to have those conversations with the principal and that's not being effective, we do have a parent concern protocol that gives you strategies and other individuals to reach out to. So the superintendent of your school is another resource. Separate from that, also, the PIAC rep for your ward is someone that can kind of weigh in and lend some support. I like to believe that all of my colleagues want to do their very best for the children that they are charged with caring for and supporting, and the only way we can do that is working effectively with parents. So I am hopeful that with some support of your PIAC rep, with the superintendent's engagement, that there can be more fulsome communication going forward.
And that is exactly my approach, and that's exactly how I'm walking into my office. That is exactly how I'm engaging with my principal.
Thank you so much. And may I highly recommend before you walk away, please connect with the PIAC table outside, just so we can get a little bit more information with your ward, yes? Okay, thank you. Next question. I do apologize, but as we get closer to lunch, I'm going to be moving you, so if you can keep the question very succinct so we can respond.
Sorry, I gotta go ask her. So, mom, parent, mom, parent or caregiver. Okay. So this, you heard Melanie and Sarah spoke earlier about school council. Perfect. We're looking for you to join PIAC at that working group. And then you can help support us in how we also navigate, and so that would be a perfect opportunity for you to start getting involved, engaged, and then from there we can learn a lot from this. Because Melanie and Sarah and that working group is open to all parents, and it's all things school council. So perfect, okay? So please, we're looking forward to you, okay?
Thank you so much, Sharon. Okay, next question.
Hi. Good afternoon. So I just wanted to ask you regarding budgeting and the amount of dollars that are assigned to each student based on the schools. So I am actually residing in a community in Toronto that is, I would consider underprivileged, and the schools sometimes are, I would say, having a hard time maybe engaging the students in activities. So I want to understand, as a school committee council, can we influence how much is associated to each student, and also, like, can PIAC maybe support us in a way to, beside fundraising for our school, to get more money so that we can do renovations or have more activities for our councils? So if you can comment on that, I would appreciate it.
All right, that is such a large question that starts with how the ministry funds education, how it then gets to our district, how it's allocated at our district. Is there anyone who can take that and turn it into a two-minute response? Nobody wants to do? Oh, the trustee will take that question on. Thank you.
And just so you know, I'm also a numbers gal, so if you explain it, I totally understand it. It's just I'd like to understand how I can influence and support the school more.
All right, and we're going to try to keep that brief because we want to get the line completed. Okay, thank you.
Before you speak, trustee, sorry. So, Trustee Matthias is also the trustee liaison to PIAC as well. So he's part of our working group as well, our executive team. Thank you.
Very shortly, very difficult question to give you a 30-second clip. I'm also the vice chair for the finance committee. Budget is going to start in about 2 weeks. We need you to come and ask that question and make a deputation. And then we need everybody in this room to help us push the Ministry of Education, because adjusted to inflation, the operating budget in our schools is reduced year after year after year. So we can't make improvements to your schools. We can't hire more special education folks. We can't have more of the things that we know will make your schools better with less money year after year after year. So we need everybody here to participate in the budget process and help us make those demands louder so we can have better education for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee. Next question, please, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Blair. I'm a walk-on first-time member of my school's parent council.
Thank you.
Thank you. I thought we had what would be seen as a pretty good problem, which is we're a good school when it comes to fundraising, but then I saw that last slide and it seemed like a bit of a minefield for us. Number one being our main fundraising event comes at right at the end of the year. And there was that point on the slide about how funds are supposed to all be spent in year and not carried over. Just wondering how hard and fast that is, and what do you do in circumstances where a lot of your money comes in late May, early June? I mean, that seems impractical.
You want to start, then I finish it? Please. All right, thank you
I
for
have
that.
I do have
There's
a
a number
quick
two.
two-part. I guess secondly, we've had some big ideas about what to spend money on, but we've been kind of, I think, running into, I mean, the principal is receptive, but also probably has a bit of a brick wall at his back as far as what the union can be sort of compelled to engage with as far as investments that we might make. And so I think we've had good ideas about where to spend the money, but we're starting to build money up because we're being sort of stymied, I guess, because we don't understand what's an appropriate place for us to invest. So if there's any resources out there which can kind of tell us what the constraints around what we can do are, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, then I'm going to go backwards, and then I'll start with the latter question, and then my colleagues will take the first part of the question. So, school council fundraising, it's not the mandate of council. I'm going to say it again, it's not the mandate of council to fundraise. Because school council was really about how we get parents and caregivers engaged, connected to the school, so they can effectively navigate the school in support and advise the principal to ensure that our students are getting the best experience. So when council chooses to engage in a fundraising activity, it's about how you're supporting and furthering the priorities of that school, right? And so I always encourage councils that you're talking and working with the administrator and looking at the school improvement planning process. So what you're actually doing is actually feeding into what's been defined as the best plans and goals for the school. Because those plans and goals are set to support the students, your children. And so when we're working in tandem with the principal presenting, here's what the school improvement plan is. Here's what our goals are academically, emotionally, physically, whatever those goals are. And if council is fully aware of it, then what council is now doing is reflecting on things and thought, what do we need to do as the body that's here for parents and caregivers and guardians to be able to support them in ensuring that those things can happen? But what can we do that can help supplement, because fundraising in our district is to supplement, it can in no way replace what is provided or paid for by ministry funding. So those are some of the little nuances in terms of what you do. Councils cannot invest their money. So I know there are councils who raise their money and then they have an investment funds. The number one challenge, I think, for that is when parents and caregivers fundraise, the intent is that as they're giving, it's being spent in the year in which their children are in that space and in that school. So what that means is you're thinking about when and where you're doing your activities, right? So you may be thinking more middle, earlier part of the year, because by the end of the year, you're losing a cohort, right? So that cohort that would have given are now leaving, and their students may not benefit. So we ask councils that you're thinking about when you're doing your key events, and if you know that's where you're going to end up with an end-of-year event, when you're actually doing your planning at the beginning of the year, you're actually thinking and getting approval from council about where will this particular fundraiser, if we're hosting it in June, what is our purpose for that money? So you've given thinking in advance of the event before you fundraise for funds and then not know what to do with it. If you can't, do I dare say, if you can't come up with what you're going to do with that money, then I say you need to think about whether you need to be fundraising for more money. Right? And councils, if you have funds that are sitting in accounts, I dare say this may be the year where you're thinking about, I wonder if there's some training that we can offer for parents and caregivers. So one of the observations I've made is most of the activities that are done at council are done for students. And there's a key stakeholder that you forget. Who are they? Parents. So I ask you to think about that audience What do your parents and caregivers need to effectively navigate at the school level? What do they need can I talk at the secondary level where you heard Sharon say, when parents begin school at the secondary level, they're starting school all over again. What do they need to know? What packages can council help put together for them? I just want you to keep that audience in mind when you have resources, because they need as much as the students do in some particular schools. Okay, Maria, Rosalie, did you want to take the second? Okay.
My comment will be really brief because I think Michelle will provide a really fulsome answer. I think the only thing I would add to that is that the fundraising monies that when they come into a school, they do go into what is called a non-board account. So there's slightly different rules. They can, if there's a plan, they can carry over to the following year. But again, think about what she said in terms of where those funds, the purpose of them, and when and where you're planning to use them. Just to give a really quick example, I was on a school one time and school council wanted to bring in guest speakers around cell phone addiction, around mental health for students. So they paid money for guests to come in, and they did some of their fundraising to make sure that they had those people coming in to talk to support parents. So just a number of ideas, but really and truly she gave a full answer. If there's any other questions, of course, come and see us afterwards.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi. Well, personally, I'd like to congratulate you guys and all the organizers of this event because it was quite informative.
Thank you.
My question, with regards to the bylaws, I was wondering if there's a difference between bylaws and code of conduct. Currently, we're unable to generate our bylaws because we requested a code of conduct from the board. We're wondering if those are the same things because we didn't want them to basically overlap. So where would we get that? Because our principal tends to say no a lot.
So I'm going to go quickly to the where. So before you leave this space, if you have a cell phone with you, we can QR code it and it'll direct you exactly where you go to get the bylaw template. Codes of conduct and the bylaws are two separate things. You can embed your code of conduct into your bylaws if you so see fit, but most schools have code of conduct. Most of our schools have a code of conduct, and so you're able to take a look at that, and the Toronto District School Board has a template of code of conduct that schools adhere to. So before you leave, you can get that information before you leave today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next question. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Ayo, and I'm the secretary for Parents Council at Jarvis Collegiate International Institute. Now, I want to actually say thank you very much for this program. And I also want to thank you for, I think you handpicked the best teachers for Jarvis.
Oh, did you hear that?
I think you graduated from there. So I think you did, because apart from the fact that my child is excelling, we're new to Canada, my child is excelling there, I'm also happy. I'm very happy with the school. Communication is on top. The principal tends to say yes, not no. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. So Jarvis Collegiate, leadership, wherever you are, superintendent, every teacher, staff in that space, a parent, just acknowledge you. And I know sometimes our staff don't always hear the good news, so let's put that good news out there and acknowledge them. Thank you, Jarvis CI, wherever you are. Okay, next question.
She wants to speak? No?
Really? Next question.
Hi, I'm Amabel. I'm a secretary for school council in an elementary school. I do wanted to recognize that my school, I'm blessed and lucky to have an amazing principal. They're very supportive, and I love the parent council themselves. So it's not, it's the question that I have is a two-part question. One is for funding, the fundraising events, and the second one is communication. So for the first part, I heard about the fundraising events, and I was wondering, just for clarification, the fundraising events done by the school and the school councils are two separate events, but it's not mandated for the school council, right? But if the school is having their own fundraising events, the school council can then support that, right? So, and the funding for that is, like, that will be communicated, the funding that, the one that was received, the funding that is allocated for that event, that will be communicated to the school councils, no? So that was one question. And the second question is, for the communication on the parent and the school council, is it possible for us to have a separate, a school council separate website where we can communicate to the parents of our district, where we can have like the bylaws? Those are like for transparency purposes, like as a membership. Are we able to have create our own website, like a school council website within our school, for parents, the student councils, for our meetings, so that we can have communication throughout, a lot of transparency? Like, is that possible? So, yeah.
Those are your two questions?
Those are the two questions.
I'll take the latter, and fundraising. Did you want to take the first? All right, so I'll take the latter in terms of school council communication. School councils are allowed to have your own external site outside of the TDSB. Here's the ask. We have some guidelines around what needs to happen and how you create that.
Yes.
And I think if a school council is looking to do that, then there are just some key things that you need to think about. Who's responsible, who manages, who updates, and in terms of what we say about social media, depending on what's connected to it, who monitors it, right? And who's going to be accountable for keeping it, but also who's accountable for shutting it down if you need to. But at the same time, we also encourage all principals to provide school council pages on the actual school website that will enable the school council to do the exact same thing you would be doing outside, but it would be happening internally. Our communication staff within the board actually supports schools and provides them templates for their websites, which could easily be looked at and adapted at the local school council, at the school level, if the school council wishes to utilize the school's website in terms of their own information.
Yes, actually, I would prefer that as a secretary, to just have it within the school.
Okay.
Thing, just because then it's a lot easier to for credibility, for parents to actually take it seriously. And if they needed information and they
Right.
wanted to have a voice, they can communicate it through there, and then we
Right.
can represent them better. So that was good. I will ask my principal that.
Okay, thank you. Let's take the second half of the question. Andrew, did you want to?
Sure. Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Oh, the question is that when we're doing the fundraising events, because I noticed that in my school, there's two separate events. One are being done by the school council and one is done by the school. But personally as a school council, as well as the parent, I would know about the events when it's getting, out there. So I was just wondering if the fundraising events that are being done, as you guys have said that the school council does not have to do the fundraising events, that's not mandated. But if the school is doing a fundraising events for the school council, should that be communicated to the school council so that we can support them in their endeavors, so that we can be, so that we would have like an idea of what they're doing, how we can be of service, how we can support that? Is that like it?
Yeah, no, I think I've got the gist of the question.
Yeah.
I think going back to a previous point that actually I think several people have made, I think it's about communication with the principal and making sure that aligns. Again, if you want fundraising to be successful, really you want to communicate as broadly as possible. You want to reinforce the message and do those pieces. So I think it's about having that connection with the principal to do that. So from that perspective, again, the school council can have its own fundraising, but at the end of the day, the principal, as we said before, they have to approve any fundraising that it does occur in the school. So, but there are also, and I don't know if the right term, and maybe staff can speak better to that. At my school, I'm kind of thinking, I don't know if you're thinking about like Terry Fox run, or if you're thinking about sometimes the spirit wear is done by the school instead of school council and those kind of pieces, but really it's about that connection. And where it necessarily falls, that's kind of like an administrative aspect. I think the really important piece, and what I've hopefully tried to communicate, is about the accountability and communication. And that's what's going to build your strong community, both with the school council and the principal and the school and the community.
Yes, because the funds are not, it's not being communicated, and And that would be great to know.
Yep.
But thank you for the answers.
Yeah, and feel free to, I think there's a lot of finance questions, so come and talk to me. I love talking about this stuff.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we know lunch is ready, and I want to honor those who are in the spaces. I'm going to ask you to keep it to one question, and we're going to have to limit commentary at this time so we can get, you've been standing in line, and I want to honor you standing and waiting on that period. So please go ahead with your question.
Thank you. My question is very fast, and I just wonder, as our city in Toronto is growing so fast, and it's wonderful, so our spaces for the kids around are very dirty, and also attract, well, I pick up my son at 3 o'clock last time, and I saw the Norfolk's coyote around there. So it's possible to have a little bit more education ourselves as parents and kids in the school, how we're going to interact with the nature, and so keep our spaces clean, because it's garbage everywhere around this areas, parks,
Okay.
or something like that. But it's just wonder how we can.
Sounds like a great community collaboration, right? Sounds like an amazing
Exactly, yeah.
conversation to have with your local counselor,
I know.
1, and a conversation to have with your local trustee, 2, and a conversation to have with your council, where everybody gets to have a conversation about, are there initiatives or activities that we can engage in about beautifying our communities, beautifying our neighborhoods. It could be more regular garbage pickup. So I think you can absolutely lead that kind of conversation at the local school level.
Okay.
Good?
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, did you want to say a little more? Rosalie, please.
I just wanted to say also really quickly, if you notice something about the school, the building, the grounds, please communicate that to your principal, because sometimes knowing that that's been the perspective or what the parent community is seeing is really helpful for us to address it. So don't assume that we've seen it. Please let us know.
Thank you for that. Now, I heard someone say put it in writing. All right, next question.
Hi, my name is Katrina. My question is for Andrew. On your slide, you said that fundraising funds cannot be used for the delivery of curriculum. Does that mean that we can't fundraise for enrichment materials that the teachers can use?
So again, that is like, that's ministry. So
You ready?
again, anything that fundraising occurs is
Okay.
meant to be an enhancement, okay? Again, I'm an accountant, the line often gets blurred. Basically my job is to live in the gray, okay? And so the question is to try to understand that piece. What is, I guess, core curricular needs and those kind of pieces? And, but it's interesting because, during the COVID period, school councils were suddenly allowed to, if they wanted, to get an extra water fountain put in if they raised the money for the school. So as much as there are these guidelines that occur, and and the TDSB staff will talk about these pieces, for my perspective, it's a conversation that needs to occur, but there is ministry guidance around that, and realistically, the public education system is supposed to be fully funded, so all our children have the resources they need to be successful. Okay, we probably already heard today that I think we can put a question mark around that, and so and that's unfortunate. Okay, but that's what the ministry guidance is, and so realistically, fundraising and the board staff is trying to follow through on that on those policies, because at the end of the day, the Toronto District School Board reports to the ministry is that. Fundraising should not be for core curricular needs. That should be public funded and public education, okay?
Thank you, Andrew.
Hi, my name is Roj Hassan, and I'm talking in capacity of a school council chair. My question is quite short, and this is that by the last 6 months, I'm recognizing that the school has no permanent administrator, that is the principal, to whom we are supposed to bring recommendations. So is this any possibility that now, after recognizing that bringing the parents' concerns and restlessness to the trustee and superintendent, I want to know the right channel, protocol, and navigation mediums need to be followed in this case. That is, could I write to trustee or superintendent that now it's been 6 months, now the 7th month it's been started, and we won't have any permanent principal. After every 1 month, we see a new face. Though
Okay.
the vice principal are definitely providing very constant and consistent and persistent support to the school, making it sure that the school is progressing continuously but still, a permanent principal is need to be in place.
Thank you. Let me turn, principals, one of you want to take that? It's got to be a principal. Can a principal take it? Helen's going to take it. Okay. And SO's going to take it.
If I could just clarify the question, you don't have
It's
a
about
permanent principal right now, is that what you're asking? So you should be in touch with your superintendent, and they are working on it. It'll be more specific to your site, whether it's a retirement, whether it's somebody on leave, so the superintendent can give more information. The superintendent, usually if it's someone that's on leave, will communicate out to the community that someone's on leave, so you have had that communication? Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, can I ask that we take that off the floor?
Yes,
Okay.
I can talk to the side.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Helen. Next question?
Hi, my name is Tarsney. I'm from Sir William Osler High School. It's a special needs congregated site. So I think earlier we heard that there are socioeconomic differences between schools where some schools cannot raise that much money. So our school is not only socioeconomically disadvantaged, but also the parents carry the additional burden of caring for a child with special needs, which is also both emotional and financially. So this is the first time I'm meeting other school council members, which is thank you. So I was just wondering whether you guys have considered having a platform where school councils can share. Like, for instance, if some school councils are investing funds or raising money and they don't know what to do, and it has to be spent within the year. I understand they raise it for their children. We're not asking to be unfair to their children, but in terms of equity, if there's a way for our schools and school councils to communicate, there's a platform to say, look, our school is in need of this money, or even training. If we can have training session where school councils can share the training session, if we are paying professionals to come out and train and empower parents, if there's improved communications and sharing, perhaps we can, help out each other and support each other to meet the needs. There's no provision for it at TDSB, even through PIAC. And do we have such, are we thinking about something like that?
So the quick answer to that is yes, we've been thinking about something like that, trying to figure out what the appropriate mechanism tool that enables that. But in the absence of a formal tool, we know that there are informal ways that has been occurring. Your Parent Involvement Advisory Committee is a huge way in terms of what that's been happening. The sessions that we've rolled it out has been trying to provide platforms where council chairs can come, meet, connect, talk. This afternoon was designed intentionally for that. So council chairs are going to be sitting, or members or parents, you'll be sitting in a space talking to each other, connecting with each other, learning from each other, getting connections, so you're able to effectively share ideas. In terms of the funding stream, we're also talking about that. Councils have approached Central to find out if we're a council and we make X amount of money this year, we make a tremendous amount of money, are there ways that we can share it and collaborate with other schools that may not be able to fundraise as much? And I know that our finance and equity has been looking at ways to do that in a way that honors our schools that are requesting it, and that those who are delivering it. I've been a part of a couple of that exchange already, and what we're trying to do is find out what that procedure will be, that we are sure that each side is recognizing the way in which one gives and the way the other receives, and figure out a way it can be scaled up. It's not scaled up right now, but we also have an entire equity budget that there's conversations around, that the district is trying to figure out what happens with that when a school is in need, how do the allocations happen, so multiple things are happening in response to that question. Thank you for that. Next question.
So my name is Jennifer. I am the chair council of Sunnyview Public School, which is a special needs school of about 84 students. I found last year that there was a cut to 2 teachers due to lack of enrollment, but then come this year, they gained it back. However, the students lost those 2 students, and because they're special needs, you have autism, Down syndrome, these children need the same teachers, the same flow, as opposed to bringing in somebody new just because it didn't, quote, meet the numbers. And then yet these cutbacks that I'm getting told, when I got told this, I fought to find out what's happening. And what I'm finding is that It's the board that's top heavy, and it's the government's getting blamed for all these cutbacks, but it's the two of them together. Together, unless the government and the board, top at the board, work together, then the teachers, the principals, it's not fair to them. Everything is falling apart. It needs to be more out there. We need to see more clearly what's going on.
Thank you for that.
It's, you know, not only that, what's also happening is that we have underprivileged, we have across the board, we need to know of every background, every low income, but what no one has acknowledged is special needs. You can ask any child in any school and they have no knowledge as to how to interact or how to be kind to someone with special needs. And that's because the board is not allowed to say. But without the board saying, you cannot just throw a child in and expect them to know. It's impossible. They need to have funding, more funding, for educating the student in special needs.
Thank you for that commentary. Appreciate it. We're down to two. I'm going to ask that you keep it brief to a question so we can get you out of this room. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So my question is actually related to a student issue. So I'm not sure whether this PIAC can take some efforts or could have already taken some efforts. How much efforts have been taken to solve this issue? And this issue is related to computer addiction.
So may I say, if this is related very specifically to you, your child, I would highly recommend that you may want to connect with one of our staff here outside of this space, because if you've engaged a tremendous amount of energy to date in trying to resolve it, it may be helpful to be engaging with an individual in the space instead of in this large forum.
Okay.
Good? Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. All right. Last but not least, thank you so much for your patience.
Yeah, I appreciate, thank you. My name is Asma, and I'm a member of council at Wexford College of Art. This is the 17th conference for PIAC. Could we upgrade PIAC to become a union?
Could PIAC become a union?
Yes, could we, because every organization could come to a time to become, to upgrade everything.
So let me speak to what PIAC is. So can PIAC unionize? No. And within its presence, let me clarify my language. Within the present structure and existence of a PIAC, it wouldn't look and be open to a unionized structure. The Parent Involvement Advisory Committee is, I can say, is a legislated body. So the Ministry of Education has said to every district across Ontario that you must have this body. And this body must exist within the district, and its structure operates within the district of the school board. So the way it's designed now, a unionized structure wouldn't align with its existing structure, the way it's been designed now. Yeah.
So then we need to work on that. I think so.
Then I'll leave that as a dialogue with you and the Ministry of Education, who legislates that piece. That's the best thing I can say.
Yes,
All
and
right.
the only thing that I would like to highlight, because to make the voice of parents being strongly heard through the TDSB and the Ministry of Education, as much as we can do conferences and we can share experiences, but when we do not do something in effort to make this result being applicable, physically applicable in the schools, and to at least harmonize some beneficiary experience from school to another so that the level of education could grow up.
Would you just hold the thought? Could I just ask those who are here, could you just honor us just a couple more minutes? We're wrapping up. Just if we just honor the speaker on the floor, and then we'll wrap up really soon, I promise.
I appreciate. So what I'm saying is that as a parents, we need our voice not to be only heard internally. We need it to go to the upper level. And to make our children in good education and to give them the good education that we dream about, not only to let them as they are. Maybe we need sometimes to adjust something in the education system.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for that. Thanks very much. On that last note, what I will say, the Parent Involvement Advisory Committee, these PIACs across the district, they have direct access to the upper echelon because they're the creation of that echelon. And every PIAC co-chair has the opportunity to meet directly with those echelons if they so see fit. Right? So it's up to each of the advisory committees to do that, to be able to report up and make requests up. So thank you so much for your commentary. Thank you so much for your patience in waiting. And now we're just going to turn it over to the two co-chairs who are going to wrap up. Zena Sharon.
Hello. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your concerns. I know there will be tables out in our marketplace to continue those conversations, to continue asking those questions, and after today, please continue to ask those questions. So it's been a long morning, and this is just a bit of a summary to give you an idea again of what meaningful school councils are. So for instance, the role of a school council responsibility. Okay, so I'll give you a few moments to take a look at that. But again, any questions you have about school councils, that's what today is, and that's what our marketplace is also about. I'm going to speak really quickly about 3 words: ready, set, and engage. So today, ready. Ready is being here. Ready is gathering your information. Ready is understanding what you want to do. Right? What is your council going to do? What are you going to do as a parent caregiver to support that council or become part of that council? Set. Set is when you realize, I got this. Maybe I don't have this, but I have people around me that can support what I want to do and what our council needs to do and what I want to do to support the well-being and achievement of the students in my school community and in my ward possibly. That's if you join PIAC, haha. So then we have engage. Engage is something that we do when we're ready to take that step. That step could be that conversation with our principal. That step could be a conversation with one of our parent or caregivers at our school. So engage is different things to different people, but it all changes what we do afterwards. It all changes the communities we're in. It all changes the perspective that we have and how we've connected with other people. So I welcome everybody here to get ready, to get set, and at the right time when it feels appropriate, engage. And when you engage, if you still need more help, you have PIAC reps, you have staff, you have other parents and caregivers in your community and organizations. So thank you for being here today. I know that we are, who is in here? We are between you and lunch, and we thank you for your patience as well.
All right, so just a few words. We do have a PIAC School Council toolkit for those of you who, sorry? Oh, the QR code is on the table. It is also on our website. The marketplace. I just want to give you an idea of what the rest of the day looks like. So my name is Tanya. I am the PIAC co-rep for Ward 17. Most PIAC co-reps should be here today. Part of today is knowing what our job is, engaging with those within our wards to help support school councils and schools in our wards. We cannot show up to your school council meetings. We must be invited. So, like many school councils that don't necessarily use TDSB emails, we don't have access to your private information. We don't have ways to communicate with you. So thank you for showing up today because it shows us you want to engage, you want to communicate with us. You're allowing us to help support you as best we can. And when we don't know the answers, we'll go find the answers. We are your liaison to the board, right? So we're here. We're all here on a Saturday. My kids are away doing their lessons. Hopefully their dad has taken care of them. Lunch, halal friendly, kosher friendly, 2 lineups. It is going to be a working lunch and we are going to address a lot of these problems. We're going to do some scenarios. What happens with my financials on all this stuff? So the rest of the day is kind of laid out that way. Sorry? We are going to be recognizing school councils, giving out awards. certificates, and we are going to celebrate. So we're going to direct a lot of your questions. The marketplace, there are some school councils that are very well represented that have some tables set up by some schools. You can talk to them, see how they govern, see what they've done, some events, some successes, some hardships. So they are there for you to talk to as well and learn from and engage with, okay? Thank you very much.
So I apologize. There's one more item. If you haven't left here yet, we're encouraging everyone to sit in the wards of which their schools are in as well, so you can continue that networking. Thank you.